we've come a long way in that time, haven't we? We're in a Champions League final against the mighty Internazionale, Juan.
Yes. Oh my goodness, it's incredible. I mean, like, think obviously for those who don't know, like, I followed the club since I was 11 years old. So the first game I watched, it was on TV. It was on the playoff final against Gillingham in 1999.
Yeah,
The same, ironically, same season when Man United were fighting for a treble. And if you
yeah,
think about it, fast forward 24 years later, we're fighting for a treble now, which is incredible.
absolutely.
Um, to take it back, of course, I did follow West Ham and Arsenal because obviously London teams, because obviously my friends and I was just supporting them. But then City chose me, you know,
Okay, yeah.
uh, and that's how it all started. And since then, I've followed the team ever since, and now here we are. I mean, look, growing up, watching Paul Dickoff, Andy Morrison, Nicky Weaver, Jeff Whitley, Kevin Horlock, and now I get to see. Now, fast forward Champions League final now, and we get to see the likes of Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne,
Yeah,
Ederson, Ruben Diaz.
mental,
You know,
mental, isn't
it's
it?
it's just it's crazy. I mean, if you told 11-year-old me that after
Yeah,
clinching promotion to the championship, that 24 years later we'll be winning what 7 league titles, 2 FA Cups, 6 League Cups. We're going to be reaching our second Champions League final, and I'll be like,
yeah.
well,
You told them that they were talking absolute rubbish. You would have told them,
I'm
Hwang, the same as what I said, which is that if we were to win a pre-season tournament, that would have been enough silverware for us. If we qualified for the UEFA Cup group stages, that would have been enough. Beating TNS over 2 legs was enough as a kid for me. Beating Blackburn away from home at Ewood Park back in 2003, that was enough. Watching Kevin Keegan's Manchester City team just play beautiful, scintillating football and finish eighth in a season, eighth or ninth in a season was enough.
yeah.
Although the fact that Erling Haaland earlier on in the season scored the total amount of goals that we scored at home under Stuart Pearce in around 4 or 5 games, it's pretty frightening.
It is pretty funny because I remember the 2006-07 season at home. I believe we only scored 10 goals,
Yeah,
and that was and if you think about it, Erling Haaland has done that in what 6 games, if I'm
six
correct.
games, 6 games.
So so it's just come a long way, and with Erling Haaland now playing for City after watching his father growing up, playing for the club as well, and now look who we are.
Well,
It's just the
Huang,
most testament.
we're now on the eve. I say the eve. We're not on the eve per se, but we're on the eve. In around an hour and I say around an hour and 5 minutes in 2 days' time, we'll be kicking off against Internazionale, and I think for us City fans that watched that game against Chelsea and wondered what the hell Pep was doing, not starting a holding midfielder and playing Gundogan as the single pivot. We now believe that this is an opportunity for Pep to not just do what he's always wanted to do as the Manchester City head coach, but I think put the wrongs right from 2021. Get the fans not back on side because we're already on his side anyway, but make us believe that he doesn't always have to test himself and tinker at such a final stage. That was different that season. We'd won the league. The Champions League would have been part of a double that season. But this time round, this is the treble. This is the big one. All big ears. He's surely not going to mess around with the team this time, is he, Juan?
I don't think so, no, because I would like to think he's learned the lessons from the 2021 final, and I like to think he has learned the lessons from past eliminations. Because I think if you think about it, in order to win such a beautiful tournament as the Champions League, you have to be prepared to embrace the suffering, the heartbreak, and the roller coaster of emotions. And I genuinely believe the eliminations of Monaco, Liverpool, Tottenham, Lyon, the final defeat to Chelsea, the semi-final heartbreak against Madrid have got us to here today. And, you know, no team that has won a Champions League has never ever experienced suffering, heartbreak, and dagger to the heart moments like we as City fans have endured all these years in the Champions League as well. And I think we are right now. And I think it's just so fitting, especially as our captain Ilkay Gundogan wearing number 8, wearing the Colin Bell jersey as a tribute to the 1917 Cup Winners' Cup,
Yeah.
and the fact that the final is in Gundogan's parents' country. I think it's just all meant to be.
Yeah,
And
it's almost so poetic that it just can't not happen, can it?
yeah, and you think about it, De Bruyne, sadly went off 2 years ago with an injury. This is his redemption. And Haaland, when he said he has the Champions League as his ringtone, it was always destiny for Haaland
Yeah.
to play in the Champions League final. And also, if you think about it, think about all the fans that were there at the playoff final 24 years ago,
Yeah.
that are going to be in Istanbul. And if you think about the fans that are from around the world that follow City all these years, it just all comes down to this. And for me, I've experienced so much heartbreak
Yeah.
as a City fan, and I've embraced that so much.
Mm.
And I think I wouldn't become the fan I am today
No.
without those heartbreaks.
No, I agree. Look,
Yeah.
one of the best quotes that I've ever read as an 8 or 9-year-old boy was one that was actually in a Manchester City. It was in the museum, actually, on the wall, the old museum. I mean, the one above the club shop. So for those people that don't know, the club shop used to have a cafe above it, and the museum was actually in the cafe above it. As you probably know, Hoang, if you ever came over and saw the old museum that was above it, it was part of the tour. You saw that first before you went and did the tour. I know it is upstairs now, but it wasn't like it is now. It was completely different. The whole refurb was done back in around 2007 or something. But there was a quote on the wall, and it was that victory always tasted better after tasting the bitterness of defeat. And I think every City fan knows what that means. That the victories that we now feel, that other fans and opposition fans don't get. They go, "Oh, you're entitled," and this, that, and the other. No, we're not. We're not everything that we hated about the fans that used to wind us up about being unsuccessful. The victory tastes all the sweeter now because of the bitterness of the defeats that we had to taste when we were kids. I tell Ian the story on the podcast a few times, and the rest of the podcast team and the people listening, about how I became a City fan, and the fact that going into school on a Monday morning after losing at the weekend wasn't great at all. But knowing that we might win next weekend was the thing that kept you going all week at school. Knowing that it was only 3 days on a Tuesday or 2 days on a Wednesday until City played again and potentially beat Portsmouth, or potentially managed to get a win against West Brom in a game that West Brom were favourites to win. I think that for me was what drove my determination to be a City fan along. And that was what kept me as a City fan and kept me not wanting to kind of veer away from City in any way, shape or form. And now my team are in a Champions League final, Hoang. So I think we're both on the same page when it comes to the fact that I think we deserve this, my friend.
I think so too, because I'm not it's easy to follow like the red side or Arsenal or Chelsea or any other teams in Europe, but that's what chose me to be a City fan, because I remember the days of Main Road. I remember those moments growing up. I mean, listen, that playoff final in 1999, that's what really got me started, I believe. I mean, of course, the Aguero moment in 2012, of course, that's the greatest moment in the club's history. But I believe without Paul Dicko's equaliser, we probably wouldn't be in this position today.
Yeah, well, no, I agree. And, Ian tells me a story as well, about the club in 2004, 2003, 4, 5, just after we'd left Main Road. And everybody's thinking, City have moved into the City of Manchester Stadium. It's a massive new ground. The club is in a great place. Financially, the club wasn't in a secure place at all.
No, it wasn't.
From what I've heard from a lot of people, and this has been mentioned on podcast before by Ian, that he's spoken to many people about this over the years. Not to forget those that were the closest to it all. And the club was almost there again, Wang. We were almost as close as we were in 98, 99. To potentially falling out of business and being wound up potentially as well, which would have been the drastic measure. But then to see and for that to happen after what Kevin Keegan allowed us to showcase at Main Road would have been absolutely devastating. But again, I've got to credit Stuart Pearce and even Samaras and Karadi, Danny Mills, although he doesn't like us on television, Ben Thatcher, and them players from that era, not to mention Sylvan Distan, Richard Dunn, even Paul Boswell, that allowed us to perform well enough on the pitch to bring enough financing to make sure that we stayed just above that line, so that then when Taksim purchased us, we were in a decent position. And then when Sheikh Mansour bought us off Taksim because of obvious reasons, we were then able to flourish and go on and on and on. But let's remind people, Hoang, there was risk and reward involved in the Sheikh buying us. It wasn't he bought us, we turned into the giant we are now. That has taken process. It's taken blueprint. In some people's eyes, it's taken cheating, which I don't agree with. But what it has done, it's taken good business minds, good processes, good blueprints to get us to where we are now. And we've spent money better than anybody else. And I think that's what people can't stand.
Yeah, of course. I think, they always say, you bought your way. No, I wouldn't really say that. It's more like, yeah, we bought players, but it's about spending the right amount on the right players. And you think about this, like, I think when I was 20 years old, when the club was bought, I mean, to be honest with you, hand on heart, I was very skeptical about whether this direction and the Sheikh Mansour go. But after listening to his words, Khaldun's words, to see where it is, right, to see what it was before to where it is now, which is incredible. And, I couldn't thank Sheikh Mansour enough, Khaldun enough. And, I just kept believing and believing and believing that, when I was a kid, watching the Champions League finals, I just said, one day, hopefully Manchester City will participate in that final. I got laughed at when I said that.
Yeah.
But now here we are. We're on our second Champions League final in history, and I genuinely believe that this is it now. I genuinely believe on the final whistle, we could be seeing the boys lift that trophy. I just want to see Ilkay Gundogan with that number 8 trophy.
To see Ilkay do that in Istanbul, like you said, considering the Turkish heritage that he has, and just being Colin's heir to the number 8 shirt, the true heir, I believe, to Colin Bell. I mean, there's been many players that have worn the number 8 shirt at City since, but Ilkay Gundogan epitomises everything that Colin was. I think Ian's mentioned this many times as well, that for him to see Ilkay win the Champions League in the Colin Bell tribute shirt with the number 8 shirt on, being born in Gelsenkirchen where his mum was born, I think that all of that, and doing it in Turkey as well, is just so poetic and romantic, if you want to call it that as well. And I can't think of a better place to win the Champions League ever, if I'm honest with you, than this moment now.
Yeah, because I do believe small details, small little inkling details that really make me believe that this is really destiny. Like, I'll say this, like, it's not only Gundogan with his Turkish heritage. I do believe it's De Bruyne and his redemption from 2 years ago in the final, and now he's back and he's determined. I believe it's Erling Haaland. He said it's his dream to be in the Champions League final, and now he gets to play in it. And also, I just genuinely believe it's just the small little details like this just makes me feel, it's definitely destiny. And look, this is Pep's 4th Champions League final, and it's just meant to be. And I do believe that the only way City don't win is if they don't turn up, is if there are fallouts in training, which I don't think there is.
Nope.
They don't follow the manager's instructions. They don't follow his tactics and his game plans. And basically, they just don't turn up. That's the only way I feel.
I think I agree, Hoang, and I think that this is the night where John Stones, Ruben Dias, Manuel Akanji, Nathan Ake are taken more seriously than they've ever been taken before. They win this Champions League. They are considered to be 4 of the best centre halves in the world. I think Kevin De Bruyne he becomes the undoubted best midfielder in the world when we win the Champions League. And I said when we win the Champions League on Saturday night, because I cannot, as you know, look at it any other way than that. Without, I'm not a blind optimist, Wang. I'd like to think that a lot of what I've said over the years has been backed up by the boys, and I can't thank them enough for doing that. That I just cannot ever go into a game pessimistic, because I was always optimistic as a kid that something had happened. I just didn't know what. but the pessimism was thrown upon us because we were never going to achieve what I dreamt of then. It was pipe dream stuff. It was stuff that we weren't physically able or financially able to achieve. So why now am I going to be pessimistic in a time when optimism can only be the only outlook? You know, none of us would ever believe it could have happened because it was a million miles away. But the Champions League win is literally 95 minutes away. So, we were we were never going to be purchased by Sheikh Mansour at one stage, but now we are in a final. We can win it. We can lift all big ears. Ilkay can lift it in Istanbul. It's all achievable, and it's 95 minutes away from being done.
Yeah, I just genuinely believe it. I mean, there's so much tension, so much excitement in the build-up, but I can understand the nerves from the City fans around the world.
Oh, I can as well, yeah.
I mean, what I will say to the City fans worldwide is embrace the nervousness, but turn that nervousness into excitement. Back the boys, believe in them. Listen, I know Pep has got he's got it under control. The players got it. I saw the players interviewed in the media, their body language and the tone in their voice, and they're assured. It's so assuring.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're gonna win.
I think the way I look at it, Hoang, is that these aren't individuals. They're not even a team anymore. They are an absolute colossus. And I think that, you know, when one man is down, the rest pick him up. If two men are down, the rest pick them up. There will be moments in this game where somebody makes a mistake, and it will take that reassurance from fellow players to get them out of that rut. You know, I always look at Raheem Sterling as a football player, somebody that I do wish all the best to. And I know there was things said after he left us and went to Chelsea, but maybe he had things going on in the background that we didn't understand where he wanted to vent, so we can't begrudge him that. Same with João Cancelo for me. We don't know the whole facts, and we're not quite sure of what happened with Pep. You know, we love Pep, but we can't always take his side blindly. You know, we don't know what happened, so I prefer that player to just be left to go on and carry on his career in a way which he chooses, and just not kind of slander players. But Raheem Sterling was the kind of player that, for me, would make a mistake in a game and continue to make mistake after mistake because he tried to make up for the previous one. And I think that even when players tried to give him a leg up or a reassurance, Raheem was always trying to put the wrongs right, but it forced him to make another wrong. Whereas I don't believe that there's many of them kinds of players in the squad now that will, you know, instead of focusing on, I need to put the pass right that I just got wrong then, they will go, I just need to get on with the job in hand, get rid of that thought process and carry on and use my teammates to lean on. And I think that again will be what will help us get through this game.
Yeah, I would agree so, because I think after watching the knockout stages, and you know, when Haaland missed the penalty against Bayern Munich, he just forgot about it, moved on. He focused on the next action, and then he scored to make sure City are firmly in the semi-finals. And also, you know, with the Madrid in the second leg, they wanted to put it right. It was like, no, this is our chance to really put one over Madrid, and we did just that. Like, to beat the European champions 4-0. I mean, Real Madrid. Since when did Real Madrid lose so heavily in the Champions League, and City just ruthlessly swept them aside? And now we're here with Inter Milan, and I'm not going to disregard Inter Milan. Look, they're in the final for a reason, and we're going to give them the utmost respect. But I do believe City, if they play at their best, if they turn up right, they'll beat Inter Milan. I know they're going to have to work for it, but at the same time, in their head, in their hearts, in their minds, they know they're better than Inter Milan. They know that. And I think the advantage for City that Inter Milan don't have is that they go into this final carrying the scars of past eliminations.
Yeah.
Whereas Inter Milan, that current team, they've never experienced what City have experienced recently in recent eliminations. So that's why I feel where City have got the advantage, in my opinion, to go into this final. It's more like, you know, without the scars, then City wouldn't be in this position right now. And that's why I believe that they'll go into Istanbul chest out in battle mode from minute 1 to minute 95. That they're going to go all out. But I saw the togetherness for City. They look so comfortable when they're not in possession now.
Yeah.
as opposed to recent.
Relaxed but
Yeah,
concentrated, Juan. Relaxed
yeah.
but concentrated. I agree. Right now, I know you've got to go because you're busy at work. As we speak right now, you're getting them last bits of work done before you settle on Saturday night to sit down and watch the boys play against Inter Milan and win the Champions League, of course. Before you go, Huang, we need a bit of a preview of the team that we're going to be playing in the final. As we've said, we respect Inter Milan. You know, they're a colossus themselves. The history behind this football club is absolutely unbelievable. I remember watching them win it in 2010, and I was hugely proud of what they did, under Mourinho's guidance that year to come out as underdogs and win that one, you could argue. Simone Inzaghi, a good manager. You know, they've not long won the league. He is somebody that is quite intense himself, but he's quite organised and strategic. They've got forwards like Lukaku, who, will have the bit between his teeth being an ex-Manchester United player. I saw him get quite emotional in an interview as well, and he's saying that he wants to do this for a lost family member. So there's that in his armoury too. There's Julian Alvarez, his teammate as well, Lautaro Martinez, who is somebody that is hugely fluid and agile and able himself, and Edin Dzeko as well, who is just a phenomenon and is someone that I'll never forget. For his forgotten goal against QPR, the goal that changed everything for me. Because if he hadn't scored, Aguero never gets the chance to do so either. You look in midfield, dead ball specialist, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, brilliant football player, somebody that is a very, very eloquent football player for Inter Milan. They've got Marcelo Brozovic as well. The central midfielder that is a physical, demanding central midfielder. Denzel Dumfries on that right-hand side, who'll be looking to really go at Nathan Ake if Ake starts at left wing-back. And, of course, let's not forget the ex-Manchester United player, Henrik Mkhitaryan, either. As we move into that defensive line, Milan Skriniar, who is a very eloquent defender, Stefan De Vrij, who we were looking at once upon a time alongside Milan Skriniar, who will look to prevent us from doing the damage that we know that we can do. And you also look at the goalkeeper, Andre Onana, and if not him, Samir Handanovic, who are both hugely experienced players and are pretty colossal goalkeepers. They have got some squad, and we do have to be wary, but I still believe that we'll have enough to win this final one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Inter Milan, they're in the final for a reason. And I've watched a lot of Inter Milan in the Champions League in their path to the final, and I think they've been very impressive. I think I know they're so organized, so tough to break down, and they're very quick on the counter as well. And I think their game against AC Milan in the semi-finals, the way they just swept aside Milan so easily across the two legs, and I just feel that I know the boys, know what formidable opponent Inter are, but City are formidable. No, they've got to believe in themselves. But and then, look, I believe the guys that we have. Ederson will start the final as Pep confirmed it. If I'm correct, I think he would like to go with Akanji and Diaz in the middle, and maybe Ake at the back. If not, Walker in there. Midfield, I believe it will be De Bruyne and Gundogan as the eights. Rodri holding, because I don't think Pep will make the same mistake as he did in the last final. And I think Bernardo and Grealish on the wings, and the big man Haaland up front.
Yeah, no, I agree. I
Yeah.
wouldn't alter that in many ways at all. I think that you go with the team that started against United. You just hope we can get Grealish into the game more. The difference between Inter and United is that they will potentially, like you said, try to soak up pressure and then hurt us on the counter-attack. They've got players to do that. Denzel Dumfries on that right-hand side will overlap and underlap. He's full of pace. He'll look to get balls into the box for the likes of Lukaku. Lautaro Martinez will look to pick up second balls and look to score little tap-ins at the back and front posts, even down the middle of the 6-yard box. And then you look at the dynamism in midfield that they've got, and the strength with Brozovic. We're going to have to win individual duels. We're going to have to be at it. We're going to have to show our quality, and in transition, we're going to have to be quick, play through the lines, and hurt Inter Milan just as they want to hurt us, and that is at pace. And I think if we allow them to get back in, Huang, and sit deep, we could be in for more of a game. When they give the ball away and they commit them forward, we've got to transition quickly. We've got to play between the lines, and we've got to get it up to Haaland as quickly as possible. If we can get him in behind and he can get shots off, the law of averages tells you that he'll come out on top over Onana in this game, and we'll walk away with all big ears and win the 2023 UEFA Champions League and become Manchester City the champions of Europe.
Yeah. I love the sound of that. I can't wait for
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, 100%. It's like I believe in destiny. It's gonna happen. Like like I genuinely believe everything happens for a reason, and I believe in the power of manifestation. Khaldun did it 2 years ago when he spoke to De Bruyne after the match and said to him,
Yeah.
"We'll be back in the final. You're going to help us win it." And now here we are, and Saturday for all the City fans around the world, don't be nervous, be excited, get behind the team, and just know that the boys, they know what the focus is on the task at hand.
Absolutely unbelievable. Hoang, thanks for joining me. Good luck at work. Make sure you get yourself fully motivated. Not that you need to. Get yourself settled ready for Saturday night. Let's watch it in different places at the same time. And then we'll give each other a call after the full-time whistle has gone and celebrate via the mobile phone.
Yes. Thank you so much, Harlan, for having me on.
Good man. I've been our 13th man. That has been Hoang Trong. Unbelievable stuff. Enjoy your weekend before the game, Hoang, and let's get that victory.
Thank you. Let's do this. Come on, City.
Come on, City.